Hi, Jack. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Nikos. Yeah, nice to be back again.
Uh, okay. Last week we didn't have episode due to the international break, and I don't know this Nation League. I'm not fond of the Nation League.
Yeah, it's a bit mixed. It depends on what sort of team you support. I mean, it's not been good for Cyprus the last game. The game.
Yeah, but even England is in the it's not in the first group.
Yeah, they're in the lesser group, and it's yeah. It was there to replace the friendlies and make it a little bit more interesting. And then there's some sort of dynamic where it affects the qualifiers for the Euros and things like that, and the rankings, I think. But not a lot's changed, to be honest. The competitive element is there, but it's not as interesting as watching the Premier League at the moment. That's for sure.
And then also it's not like we had the Euro in the summer, and then you have this Nation League, which is another they added more matches, competitive matches.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
Friendly is different,
Yeah, it would be nice to get to the qualifiers for the World Cup, and that's when it gets more competitive and has something on it, a bit more of an edge. And I'm more likely to watch those; be more interesting.
Anyway, Premier League is back. So 2 weeks ago, your team won. It looks like you are on for top four, and we are, I don't know where we are right now.
I have a bit mixed emotions at the moment because, Newcastle won, and it was sort of a lucky win against Spurs because Spurs dominated possession. They had more chances. They played well. Newcastle
in the second half.
Yeah, in the second half.
About 20-25 minutes.
They had large spells
yes,
at Newcastle's ground as well, which was not what we used to, because Newcastle always been quite good. In recent years, have been really good at home, and Eddie Howe especially. But then you've got the transfer window and the lack of signings and the Matt Gahey drama where he didn't sign in the end. And Newcastle looking like they've got a squad that's probably weaker than last season because they let a couple go. And so my top four prediction was bold because it was based on maybe a couple of signings coming in, maybe a right winger, maybe that centre back we needed. We wait to see when the injuries clear up and players come back. So it's positive because it's 7 points from 9 already, which is great. Better start than last season, but I really don't know how to feel if the squad can cope. They're not playing European football, no, but how they're going to cope with if they go far in the cup competitions, and also it's very competitive and also they've got terrible injury issues the last couple of seasons. If that continues, then top four is going to be difficult. So I'm happy. Let's see how it goes. Newcastle got Wolves away at the weekend. Difficult place to go, although Chelsea didn't seem to find that when they went there. So let's see. I'm still looking forward to it. I'm still excited because it's early days, but I'm a little bit nervous. I almost can't wait until January transfer window comes around to see if we can strengthen then.
Yeah, but the January transfer window is always very difficult for all the teams around the world, not just the Premier League. So it's okay. Brighton started well.
Brighton and another team that
with the change of the coach and everything. They started well.
They changed the coach, but they didn't seem to have changed their successful philosophy. They seem to be very impressive still, especially at home, and they play quite exciting football. And obviously they beat Man Utd as well. It was
but every year you have one team, like a couple of years ago West Ham, they're winning in the beginning of the season, and then it's as you said, if you have the depth, and strength in depth, then you'll be able to carry on this momentum. Otherwise, they end up finishing 7th, 8th. It's not like the cities of this world where they have an injury and then you see another player and you forget about the player that was injured.
Yeah, they seem to have a strategy where they create these top players, or they bring them in and develop them, and then they sell them for big money, usually to Chelsea or someone like that, and then they seem to replace them with cheaper alternatives who then become stars again, or very impressive, consistent players in the Premier League. So Brighton, fair play to them. They've had a great strategy, and they seem to have continued. It's almost like you're waiting for Bright to sort of fade away and think, well, okay, everyone's figured them out, you know, and this sort of thing. But they might run out of ideas in the transfer market. But no, it seems to have continued. So fair play to them. Good luck to them. Let's see how they got on. It's still early, as we keep saying at the moment, but promising start for them already.
How about Liverpool?
Yeah, Liverpool. We won't talk about. Maybe you don't want to talk about the last game with Liverpool because it was an incredible.
No, we're going to talk about the match, but it looks like their fans are going to forget the club very soon.
Yeah, he's been really impressive. The new manager coming in with hardly any signings. They since we last spoke, they signed Chiesa, of course, from Juventus, a good player, injury prone, but he was really cheap, something like 10 million, so 10 million euros. So quite a low risk signing, because they've not spent that much money on him. He will strengthen the squad as well. But the thing with Liverpool is they've kept all of their players, most of their players, I'd say, the star players anyway. And he's come in difficult after Klopp, after this legacy of Klopp and the feeling that all the fans have about him, and he's almost the king of Anfield. And he's come in and he's just got on with his job. Nothing too spectacular, you know. He seems like quite a level-headed man, you know, not a massive ego, although he's not scared to make big decisions, as we saw before when he took off that player at half-time. But he's come in and he's just continued and just say, you know, go out there and play. And he's got his strategy, he's got his style, but you can't argue with the performances that they've had this season already. Obviously, going away to Old Trafford, sort of steamrolling them and winning 3-0, that was very impressive. The most impressive out of the three so far. But they're looking strong. If they can play the way they've played, I know that it's only 3 games, but it's really promising that he's stamped his authority on that squad already. All of the players, none of the players that he signed are already there. It does show that it could be a very decent season for Liverpool. Again, it just depends on lots of other things. It depends on the injuries, like any club, and how they cope with the games in the Champions League. You know, how far they go in the cup competitions. But if he manages the players properly and they stay relatively injury free, then it could be a really impressive season. However, one thing about Liverpool I noticed that they've got Mo Salah's come out in an interview after the Man United game, saying this is going to be my last season, which has shocked a lot of Liverpool fans because that's not usually said. It's usually the club usually ties down their star players. Any team of a stature like Liverpool ties down their star players for longer than a season. Let's say they don't let it run until the final season of their contract. Now, I noticed they've got Mo Salah, Virgil van Dijk, and Trent Alexander-Arnold are all in their final year of their contracts, which is quite incredible. It's quite an incredible lack of planning. So he's going to have to deal with that. So maybe that might derail them slightly, the off-field issues, let's say off-field in terms of contracts. So it's going swimmingly so far, good performances, good team cohesion, but they can't afford to let those 3 players go for nothing and not replace them. They have to at least keep 1 or 2 of those players. If Mo Salah's going to leave and the other 2 that we've mentioned, the defenders, leave, then they could be really high and dry at the end of the season.
Do you think Mo Salah will leave? I think it was just to put pressure on
we've seen
the guys upstairs.
We've seen it before. We've seen it before with Wayne Rooney when he said he was.
But even before, when he renewed, you remember the negotiations were endless because he wanted the package that could, you know, that he demanded, basically.
You see it more and more these days with the agents, and not just the agents. They have the family, they have the advisors, they have the team behind them, the commercial team. Salah is the perfect player for the Saudi Pro League because he's Muslim, because he's got a big profile in the MENA region. You know, obviously the Egyptian king, as they call him out there, he's a hero in Egypt. He'll be worshipped over there, and you know, in Saudi Arabia, in the league there. So he would be a very good signing for any team there, and they can afford his wages. They can offer him whatever he wants.
This is true, and we have seen, you know, this strange transfer for me because he's still young. Tony, the centre forward from what's his name, from Bedford.
Ivan Toney.
Ivan Toney.
Still young in his prime.
Yeah, and he decided to go there for the money. I mean, it's just okay with footballers. You never know. I don't know.
I think I was quite surprised to see that happen, and it's a shame because we'd like to see someone like that. He's actually from my hometown in the UK, in Northampton, so he's come a long way, and he played for my team, and now look at the money he's earning.
Everybody's expecting that he was going to get the transfer to a bigger club in England, not in the Saudi League.
Maybe a top 5 team, top 6, maybe like a Spurs. Obviously, Spurs went for Solanke, so yeah. Salah might move. The others, I'm not sure if they'll go to the Saudi league, but you can't leave it. You can't leave it to that risk. You can't not have that planning in place, as we've seen at other clubs, Man United as well. Not the planning there. Liverpool are guilty of it too, and maybe they'll just, I don't know, what would the reason be? Were they distracted by Klopp? Maybe Klopp never got round to doing it. Well, Klopp wouldn't do it personally anyway. Maybe they were too busy looking into managerial changes and structures in that sense. I really don't know. And they were building the stand, they renovated their stand. Still no excuse to not tie down, or if you don't want to offer them a new deal, ship them out over this summer or the summer before and get some money back so you can reinvest.
Basically, this is what happened with United in this transfer window. They shipped out a lot of players in order to get resources in for the transfers that they wanted to complete in the summer. And Omar Berrada made a statement. Basically, he came out saying that they challenged their efforts towards the sustainability and the resources because of the sustainability rules, and that the aim is to strengthen the squad. And what do we see on the pitch? Basically, maximize and be more efficient, maximize the resources and be more efficient in the recruitment of players policy. So in order to judge what Ineos are doing, in my opinion, we need to wait a couple of transfer windows. We have seen a trend, definitely. They brought in younger players, probably hungrier players, but now they need to strengthen the squad and to have the depth, because we know with 65 matches, with injuries, red cards, yellow cards, you need the strength in order to survive this long season. Okay. Regarding the United-Liverpool match, in your opinion, what went wrong?
What went right? No, it was difficult to see how Ten Hag. Honestly, I don't know how he can come out and with his head held high from that, because it wasn't just the quality difference. It felt like the tactics were all over the place as well. It felt like Liverpool beat them in all aspects, and Slotter's come in. He's literally slotted in. Pardon the pun. He's come in and he's managed 3 games, and he's already out tacticked Erik Ten Hag on his own ground. And I don't know what happened there, but what happened with Casemiro? I mean, he had a lot of social media abuse, and his wife came out and posted a story with all his trophies to defend him. And I know he's getting old and he's a senior player. He's a very good player. He made a couple of mistakes. It wasn't all down to him, but it didn't look good. And then he took him off at halftime and brought the young player on. It just doesn't seem like there's any idea or any thinking about how to set up the team and the structure. It just did. I was watching the whole game. It just doesn't seem right, does it?
It was like a continuation from last year.
Yeah, there's no improvement.
You couldn't see the patterns of play. You see players that look like, I mean, it's early in the season, or haven't even started. Some players, they look tired.
And he was saying, and he was saying stuff like he said last season, excuses, the players, you need to get up to speed, up to fitness, it's early days and all this stuff. But there's no excuse, because Liverpool were up for it and they showed it.
The match was won in the middle of the park. It was quite clear. Casemiro, when he was playing with Real Madrid, he had protection from other midfield players. The spaces were not that wide. They were really narrow, so that he could dictate the match. Okay, and now we see that It's just him and Menu in the middle of the park, and they are two forward-thinking players basically, okay, and that leaves the team exposed. So when they lose, and what we have seen, and something that really is something, in my opinion, something new that we have seen with Liverpool, is that as soon as the opponent player gets the ball, they are on top of him. They cannot even breathe.
They're looking for those turnovers and the change. You know, getting the ball back.
Yeah, they are behind, pressing.
High press.
High press. Okay, all the time. So Bruno, we see him further up. Maybe he needs to make some adjustments. Have really 3 in the middle of the park, not just 2, and change the system. And then in one of the goals, he was the team were exposed because they lost the ball, and the 2 fullbacks, they were further, especially Dalot, he was further up the pitch, so he couldn't track back. I mean, what is this, centre half going to do? He was going to be left exposed, and if you have forwards like Liverpool, they were going to punish you at the end of the day. Okay, so it was a bit better with bringing on the young guy, but still, you set up the team. You're supposed to prepare the team the whole week for this particular match, and everybody knows the importance of this particular match. And now he's under a lot of pressure because only 3 matches, 2 defeats.
Yeah, it's not been a good start at all. And the players,
a few years back, I remember everybody was saying, if you manage to have only 6 defeats, you are in for the title. And now with the Liverpools and the Man Cities and the Arsenals of this world,
well, last
you need 100 points.
Exactly. Well, last season, Man United lost 6 games at home. All right, Arsenal, in order, Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool combined lost 3 at home all season. Man United were double on their own.
Yeah, I know.
Now, that's the difference. They're miles ahead. Liverpool, even with the transition, they're miles ahead of Man United, and it's going to take a lot of catching up to do.
Exactly. And Jack, it was too easy for Liverpool.
Far too easy. Yeah, it was almost like a training exercise towards.
And after 3-0, it looks like they slowed down.
Yeah, they could have added more if
they conserved energy.
Yeah, they were saving themselves.
Yeah, it was like a stroll in the park.
Yeah, it must be really frustrating to watch that.
Yeah, and then I understand that this is a transitional period. I understand that Man United, they brought 3 players in the last weeks, the last days of the transfer window. I understand all that, okay, but the Hag, he's not helping himself when after the matches he goes to the press conference and says, "I'm not Harry Potter," for instance. It's not your first rematch in your tenure at Man United. This is your 2nd year. 3rd year.
And he was challenging that other journalist, saying, "Go on, then you tell me what went wrong." And then the journalist was responding, saying, "Well, you didn't do this, you didn't do that," and he just didn't have an answer to him. Ten Hag.
Yeah, so
he's getting a bit snappy in the conferences as well.
He feels the pressure.
He's feeling it already.
Yeah, because all the eyes in the world, not just in England, are on top of him.
Because then he says, "Oh, we won the 2nd most trophies behind Man City, didn't he? In the last couple of years, he was listing what they won. The FA
and then
like
we have seen these pictures. Casemiro leaving Old Trafford at halftime. Okay, and then he says, "No, I saw him afterwards. Where he went on the stroll in the park, or in the parking space, and then he came back." This is we're talking about Man United, and
the management have to stick with Ten Hag because they gave him a vote of confidence literally a month ago.
And they did. They came out and said that this is our coach. They wanted to, put out the fire of what happened that day. But okay, he's already under pressure, and he will play Southampton now.
And Southampton haven't won yet this season, so it's a good chance for Man United to get back to winning ways. But it's going to be tough because it's the early kickoff on the Saturday away at Southampton. No games are easy.
Exactly. So we have Southampton, Man United, Brighton, Ipswich, Crystal Palace, Leicester, Fulham, West Ham, Liverpool, Nottingham Forest, Man City, Bradford, Aston Villa, Everton, Bournemouth, Chelsea, and the big match, Tottenham, Arsenal on Sunday, and Wolves, Newcastle. So
some good games in there, especially the North London derby, Tottenham, Arsenal. That's going to be a good one.
I think clearly the Saturday matches there are some clear favorites. I mean, Liverpool, Man City.
Some easy home games. You think easier home games for those two? Yeah, they should.
And
maybe Haaland will get another hat trick. He's already got 2 hat tricks in 3 games.
Yes, that's really extraordinary.
He's already got 7 goals.
Exactly.
It's just what Man United could have done with him up front. You know, even with their lack of tactics or cohesion or whatever you want to call it, you need somebody up front who's going to guarantee you goals. I don't think Xerxes is that, and I don't think Højlund
provided that he gets the ball up front.
He only needs a 1 touch and he scores. That's the thing, isn't it? That's it.
Okay, it was a good move by Man City, but they have the structure on the pitch. They already had it, so it was just another piece in the jigsaw. I mean, in the puzzle.
Exactly.
So it's like Man City. They have a ninja player. Guardiola brings somebody in, and then you forget that this, player is injured. It's just like what is this? They change the name and they play the same system
to the same level, to the same system.
Same system. Yeah, but this is why these coaches, these managers, they are on top of the, not in England, but on top of the game, and that's why they excel. We have to be frank here that they know what they are doing, okay, and also with Arsenal, Arteta being under Guardiola for so long, you expected that they would change the momentum because they were going backwards, and now it looks like they're getting better every year.
Yeah, getting better, and also we were sat there wondering on the last episode if there'd be any surprise late moves in the August transfer window, summer transfer window, and Raheem Sterling moved to Arsenal from Chelsea and on the loan, so he might add something else. He might be an impact player. I'm not sure if he'll start every game because they've got wingers already. They've got good quality wingers. But let's say a Martinelli gets injured, or an Odegaard, or Saka, let's say, gets injured because he's had the odd injury here and there, and key players. Sterling can come in and provide another option. They've got Trossard. They've got so many attacking players going forward who, again, like you say with Man City, with Arteta ball, let's say, the players slot in. If he can get Sterling back to some sort of form again, like he had maybe when he last coached him, when he was the assistant to Pep at Man City, Sterling was playing fantastic then. Had good numbers, scored a lot of goals, lots of assists, very creative. If you can get him back to anywhere near that level, 75% even, they've got a player there. They've got somebody who can come in and maybe be the difference this season.
We have seen this with other players throughout the years, that they just go into a new environment and then they start pick up, and you see that they're in a completely different level from the previous clubs that they were in. So it's in the environment. Sometimes, you are in a squad for too long and you lose your enthusiasm. And then this comes with a loss of energy, and you don't want to be there. It's like anybody, it's like you and me. We go to work for so many years, and we are not on top of, we don't excel every day.
Exactly, and it's the same in football, and that could be a game changer. Like I said, let's see, but I hope so, because I think we all want proper challengers to Man City. I know Arsenal have come close, still not enough, still not quite to get to get the same points or to just to beat them. We want to see a real competitive one. I'd love to see a three-way race, with Liverpool thrown in as well. Let's wait and see. But one thing I wanted to also talk about was a bit further down the table, because I was thinking when I was checking the scores a couple of weekends ago when Everton were 2-0 up against Bournemouth, I thought, oh, okay, that's that could maybe turn things around, because they had a terrible start to the season. Then 87 minutes they were 2-0 up, and then 96 minute they lost 3-2. They conceded 3 goals, one of the most incredible turnarounds I've seen in recent years in the Premier League. That's not a cup competition or a cup upset. For Bournemouth to come back and just basically take Everton out the game and just dominate for those last 10 minutes, I've not quite seen that before. And Sean Dyche said, "Oh, it's more of the same." Individual errors, and it's just where we're at the moment. It's not looking good at all for Everton, and let's see how they get on the next couple of games. But that start has been absolutely abysmal. It's not looking good for them.
They need to start picking up points, otherwise the psychology will go down, and then all of a sudden you are in a struggle to survive in the Premier League. Again, it looks like the troubles they had last year, they just transferred these troubles.
Yeah, we've said that before, haven't we?
To this year. So
they lost the first 3 games of last season, though, Everton, and they still stayed up. So it doesn't mean anything.
And they have a coach that we know that he's one that his speciality is for his team to survive in the Premier League.
Yeah, he's well versed. He knows what he's doing. He had to do it with Burnley, keeping them up every season on a shoestring budget. But the reason I mention Everton is their woes, their difficulties might open the door to one of the promoted teams to stay up, because we've seen how hard it is for these teams to come up and stay up. It might give one of them a chance. Yes. So Everton, let's see how it develops. But at the moment, not a promising start at all for them.
Okay. One other thing that I want to touch upon is that up to now, I haven't missed a Wrexham match. I don't know. I watched the documentary, and it was really interesting, the progress they made from non-league. In 3 years now they are in League One, and they started really well. They made a lot of changes in the recruitment of players this year. They even got a player from Man City. I like their goalkeeper from on loan from Arsenal. And I was just wondering, a lot of teams in Cyprus, they go to specific markets like Portugal and Spain and Central Europe, and there are some players that, in my opinion, if these scouters they look down in League One, for instance, I'm sure they can find a couple of players to bring in the Cyprus League.
In the Cyprus League, yeah.
Yeah.
Of that level, maybe League One would be probably around the level of the Cyprus top division.
Yeah, I mean, so maybe you're not going to bring, lots, but I'm sure you can find a couple of players. They have a mixture of some, experienced players up front in the Championship. That they
got Stephen Fletcher, the old
Stephen Fletcher, Palmer.
Yeah,
a huge guy up front.
Yeah, he's big, and they've got some really good quality players.
Mullin,
Ollie Lee in midfield. He's a good player.
Lee, the son of.
Rob Lee.
Rob Lee.
Famous Rob Lee.
And it's a really interesting story for football fans to follow them, because it's an incredible progress they have made on and off the field, it looks like. 2 American guys, they knew nothing about football. They didn't even know what offside is, for instance. And if you watch the documentary, they explain all these terms because it's targeted to the American audience. which is good in my opinion. Okay, and it's good for the something I really want to stress. It's good for the town and the community.
You on that local level.
And last March, the attendance was 16,000+.
Yeah, that's incredible
for League One.
Yeah.
And there is interest from abroad now. They come from different parts of the world to watch Reds.
To buy the shirts. They order shirts all around the world.
Yeah.
And
I know we focus on Premier League, but for the guys out there that are watching right now, it's a really interesting story. And I follow now with television. It's too easy with the satellites and everything, and cable TV, and I follow their matches, and it's a really interesting tactically to watch it, the intensity of the league, and it's the first time I'm doing that. I watched some championship matches, but not League One or League Two, and I didn't know exactly the level of these leagues. And
I think that coverage is good for the general football league in England. You're seeing third tier down. You're seeing when they were in League Two, the fourth tier, that you're watching it then. There's stuff even in the Conference League, the fifth tier. You get to see all these different levels of the pyramid. And what some people maybe in Cyprus don't realise is, obviously we're talking about the Premier League, and everyone over here who loves football has a team in the Premier League or a big team, maybe not the Premier League, but a big team. Further down the pyramid, not just the Championship, League One, League Two, even the National League, as they call it, the fifth tier. There's loads of massive clubs with history, with big fan base.
My brother, my younger brother, he's an avid Leeds United supporter. He watches all the matches. He knows all the details. If I know any information about Leeds, he knows.
He's a super fan for Leeds.
Yes, on and off the field, he knows everything about Leeds, which is another big club, really big club.
Really big. And they've been down to the third division in recent years, 10 years ago. So it just shows you.
We have Ken Bates, that he was involved, and, Ken.
They don't like him. They don't like anyone.
But it's a Premier League club.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams like that. They should be in the Premier League.
Yes.
But they're not owed a place in the Premier League.
Yes.
It's the best run clubs that end up in the Premier League, like the Brightons and the Bournemouth.
Exactly.
Like this, and they end up in the Premier League and they stay.
Exactly. And Brentford.
Another one. And then these clubs they're not naturally Premier League. I mean, they've been in and out the top tier in recent years, like Brighton, obviously in history, but they don't have a strong.
No, but they have the organization. If you just if you're really into it and trying to learn more about how they operate, you can understand that Brighton, for instance, for so long, they are really good in player recruitment, the process. They're really good at it. Okay. The personnel changes, but you see that they find some brilliant players and say, where this guy came from. I mean, and Bradford, they have the collaboration with Michelin, the same owner, and they have the support of these data analysts, and they, of course, they have a good coach, Bradford. But you see, this is they are small clubs, but they are really well run. That's why they are in the Premier League. And some other clubs like Leeds, they are not, because something is missing. And I wouldn't be surprised if they maintain Wrexham, if they maintain this momentum, to see them in the Championship.
Do you think they can make the Premier League, or is that too far? They need new investment.
No, I was going to say that if they manage to get promoted to the Championship, they will need an influx of funds, because they are not, these two guys, they are not super rich to have a budget for the Championship. So they will need to strengthen again the squad, and we're talking about different type of contracts. Okay, so the management, but is that's why I say it's really interesting a team to follow if you're really a football fan, not just a supporter of specific team, to follow their progress. And I do follow follow them and what they're doing in the community and on and off the pitch. It's really interesting.
You have to learn some Welsh language so you can understand.
Forget it. No way. No way. I'm from Cyprus. You are from England, and I'm sure you have to go back to school to learn Welsh. Never mind me.
Yeah, even I do not
I'm a Greek-speaking guy sitting here with you, talking in English about the Premier League.
Yeah, one language at a time, Nikos. Before you're an ultra Wrexham fan, but, just a quick one on the League One, the league that Wrexham are in. Just for anybody who's interested, is Birmingham City. They were in the Premier League a few years ago. They've just made the record signing for that division. 14 million, up to 14 million for Jay Stansfield, the striker. So from Fulham, and he's probably a Premier League substitute player. That's big. Obviously, they've got the Hardy, the guy, the NFL player. He's on board.
Yeah, Birmingham is another big club.
They're another big team. Yeah, who's in that big club who are in that division. So yeah, League One, Championship, all the just a couple of divisions down from the Premier League, but the real big team, big clubs with good budget still and big squads. You know, Sunderland, another team, massive team who are outside the Premier League.
Sunderland have all sorts of financial issues. We know what happened with them.
They had a good documentary as well, if anybody wants to watch that one.
Exactly. I've watched a lot of documentaries in the summer of different sports, from Ayrton Senna to, football documentaries, United Way, and really interesting stories.
Very, especially to see. I love seeing
Roger Federer, another interesting documentary.
Yeah,
his last days. If you're into it and you're not just watch football on the telly or tennis on the telly, you want to investigate more what's happening in different sports.
You go a bit deeper.
Yes, exactly. So it's and you always learn something from these documentaries. And so another week we touch upon different teams, different matters, and we'll be here for to see more what's happening this weekend and analyze more next weekend. So I would like to thank you, Jack, and see you next week.
Thank you, Nikos.